Good day, I'm Stephen McHugh, and this is your JIS News for Monday, August 26. Minister of Finance Dr. Nigel Clark says the country's macroeconomic successes over the last 6.5 years under 2 IMF agreements must be attributed to the hard work, determination, and sacrifice of the Jamaican people. According to Minister Clark, over the period the country's debt has been reduced significantly, macroeconomic stability has become entrenched, economic growth has returned, and there has been a substantial increase in employment.
And we owe it to the Jamaican people to preserve these gains, to build on these gains, even as we work towards addressing other challenges.
The Finance Minister was speaking at a MOU signing to extend the Economic Program Oversight Committee (EPOC's) domestic monitoring of Jamaica's economic reform program. This will go beyond the end of the precautionary standby arrangement with the IMF in November. Minister Clark says the MOU's extension follows the government's agreement with the IMF to keep its office in Jamaica open for 2 years following the end of the program.
These decisions are a clear demonstration of the government's commitment and intent to maintain a credible macroeconomic path, inclusive of a fiscal trajectory that's consistent with our fiscal responsibility framework long into the future, providing a foundation for economic opportunity for current and future generations.
Meanwhile, the International Monetary Fund (IMF) is lauding the government for initiating measures to preserve and bolster the economic gains recorded over the last 6.5 years. IMF resident representative Dr. Constant Lonkengwana says he believes the main building blocks are being put in place to ensure that the exit from the IMF is smooth.
Not out of the wood yet, but the cost has been huge. So I believe the fact that Jamaican people are plugged in and very engaged in the policy discussions is in and of itself a guardian to that sound economic policy going forward.
Dr. Lonkengwana says the IMF will remain as a consultation body to Jamaica after it leaves the precautionary standby arrangement in November.
We will not be in the business of agreeing on specific targets with the government. Jamaica will essentially be on the driver's seat. We will continue to provide our technical expertise where needed, because I must say that technical assistance is one of the main functions of the IMF, because we do believe that helping countries to strengthen the economic institutions will allow those countries to implement sound policy in order to raise the living standards of their people.
The Ministry of Agriculture says the feasibility study being developed for a proposed irrigation system in Flagaman, St. Elizabeth is far advanced. The system is projected to take water from the Black River to supply about 5,000 farmers whose cultivations are impacted by drought annually. State Minister of Industry, Commerce, Agriculture and Fisheries Floyd Green says the final report on the feasibility study should be completed by December, enabling the government to allocate the funding for the project. Minister Green says preliminary data from the study has determined that the Black River has the capacity to adequately supply Flagaman and adjoining communities. He says plans are underway to design the layout of the irrigation system and determine the cost for the project's implementation. Minister Green was speaking recently while on a tour of farms that were severely affected by fire a week before. Still on the issue of water, the Ministry of Education says it will be conducting surveys to assess water shortages in affected schools across the country. Minister with Oversight, Carl Samuda, says the assessment will be done over a month and is to start shortly so plans can be put in place to effect change immediately. He emphasizes that this is being done with a view to have water tanks and the necessary piping installed in schools to ensure water is available during dry spells and inconsistent supply. The Education Minister was addressing the Jamaica Teachers Association's 55th annual conference in Montego Bay recently. The Scientific Research Council (SRC) has strengthened its capacity to carry out food reformulation with upgrades to its equipment costing $100 million. Executive Director Dr. Cliff Riley says the initiative is to assist manufacturers in making their products healthier for consumers.
We're all aware of the discussions in terms of reducing the amount of sugar, reducing the amount of salts, as well as different types of fats that are allowed in the different food types. In an effort to reduce the levels of obesity, reduce the incidence of type 2 diabetes, hypertension, and other non-communicable diseases.
Dr. Riley was speaking at a recent JIS think tank. To support the different manufacturing institutions, he says SRC technical staff have been trained in how to use the equipment, and an evaluation process begins this week.
And we want to ensure that what is in a label is actually what is in the food. If you report 30 grams of sugar per serving, it should be 30 grams of sugar plus or minus 10% as accepted internationally. It can't be 50 and report 30. So the level of accountability should increase significantly, and I believe the Ministry of Health and the different regulatory bodies are now able to better hold our manufacturers to higher levels of accountability for what they report on the actual labels.
The food reformulation initiative is being led by the Ministry of Health and Wellness and the University of Technology. SRC and the Bureau of Standards Jamaica are the verification bodies. And finally, scholarships, bursaries, and grants amounting to $5.1 million have been awarded to 28 students from across the island to offset tuition and related expenses. State Minister of Education, Youth and Information, Orlando Terrelong, has lauded Burger King Jamaica for the support to students who will be pursuing secondary and tertiary studies beginning in September.
The best investment we can make in Jamaica is in our youth. The best investment we can make is in developing the human capital of this country. And these young kings and young queens are that human capital. It is in them that we must spend millions and billions of dollars to ensure their prosperity and the prosperity of our nation.
And that's it for JIS News Today. I'm Stephen McHugh. Thanks for watching.